Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is going to be my third part of my novella, my zombie novella, The List. If you missed the first two, you need to go back and start there. Um, I really hope you guys are enjoying. I'm getting lots of views, so I hope that means that you guys really are enjoying. So, here we go. The mistake people make is looking for others, other survivors, and clinging to them, even though any idiot can tell they're just assholes and jackoffs like the rest of us. I wasn't going to make that mistake. I was going to take care of myself instead of depending on some angel faced hero and the gal that played all defenseless so that you jump between her and a zombie while she screwed the hot guy behind your back. It wasn't going to be that way for me. The list was going to make sure of that. The first name I put on the list purposefully, premeditated, one might say, if one lived in a world where the criminal justice system meant something, was Matthew Adams, the guy up in 4C who completely and totally deserved it. Premeditated, I'm not sure I like the word. I mean, yeah, his takeout was planned, but a gardener plans to pull weeds to maintain the health of his vegetables, right? That doesn't make weeding premeditated murder. The point of the list, after all, was that everyone else in the world was a zombie, and if I had to take them out eventually to maintain my own crappy life, I might as well take out the people who pissed me off the most before they undied. Being abandoned, even by the end of the world, I deserved a little peace and satisfaction before these dildos fell apart in a pile of bones and rotted meat all on their own. It's not revenge, or sadistic, or even criminal when those bastards are chewing your face off. It's taking preventative measures, dig? Anyway, Matthew was a huge threat. No, really, he was so full of hot air and bullshit, he was sure to explode all Oklahoma City like. And then what would I do for shelter? Apartment buildings are useless with giant holes in their sides. Matthew was the guy who friended everyone in the building on Facebook. Must have spent hours just looking for names and pictures in this area, then send around political messages with all the scientific or real world basis of those KFC chickens are genetically engineered to have no beaks or feet email. Dude was constantly ranting about birth certificates of presidents and taking back the country, leaving flyers on doors and hosting rallies out in the courtyard. So residents had to sneak around to get in or be berated with regurgitated Glenn Beck bull or Rush Limbaugh or Oprah or whoever was telling people what to do back then. In the old days, he'd have been the guy with the Inquisition, knocking on doors and measuring Bibles to make sure they were big enough. Oh, I wonder what happened to those people. Crazy before the end, were they completely bonkers now? Did the zombified Fox News crew gather for an undead teabagging party? Were they gathering on the Great Lawn for a showdown to the red, white, and blue death of the zombie abominites? Where was pay-per-view when you needed them? Because I would be all over that. So if you couldn't tell, Matthew was a douche. But not because he was a Republican, but because he was the type to deride, belittle, and abuse anyone else who wasn't exactly the same. Hell, he probably did it to the people who did agree with him just so that he was top dog. What Matthew never got was that no matter which side you go for, you're still supporting a politician. Some jerk who makes a ton of money off of us, might I add, to do backdoor deals, lie pretty lies to their constituent, all while their face is buried in the crotch of a Peruvian transsexual with better tits than the average American woman. But suggest to Matthew that he was taking all this too seriously, and you found yourself woken up at 7 a.m. for a friendly lecture on the power of the people, the evil of the Democrats, and the tragedies of the world. Meanwhile, Matthew would rather choke on a penny than give it to somebody in need. Damn, part of me was hoping to find Matthew alive and see what he thought of this new, actually screwed up, over, under, and sideways world we were all living in. The rest of me didn't even bother to be sneaky and quiet when I wandered into his apartment. A little twitchy with pre-release adrenaline, and used the freak's keys to let myself in. By day, Matthew used to, well, I didn't know what he'd done for a living, but he'd made enough to think that he could fit in with those old, fat, rich white men protesting on Capitol Hill. His digs were nice, cold, soulless perfection, catalog photo nice, but still nicer than the filthy cot and metal shelves in my basement nice. If I got the time, I could really spice up my place with a few of the things borrowed from the former Matthew Adams. The great D himself I found in the bathroom. I giggled a little, letting off a touch of the overpacked emotion in my skull. He'd locked himself in. Locked as in the door closed behind him, and his stupid, inept zombie hands couldn't turn the door handle. Just why had these things usurped the human race again? As zombies go, the boy was in great shape. He'd probably been locked in from the beginning and hadn't had any lost any bits to skirmishes with the other undeadies, or splattered his pretty face with the blood of the not so innocent. My axe bit through his neck in a beautiful arc, that sizzling solace of ultraviolence and the release of knowing my actions had once again saved my life. And probably others, washed through me. My blow went almost full circle, neatly severing his head from his neck and sailing through the clip to the fake marble sink and chip off a big piece. He oozed more than the others, probably because he wasn't gnawed on at all. A bone-white towel and a bathroom rug sucked it all up. From the looks of things, old Matthew had adjusted to the wicked world poorly. The tub was full, practically putrescent, and the radio dangled from the only outlet in the room, submerged in the tub. So before the power went, Matthew had given himself an out. A one-way ticket to Valhalla, or wherever it was that the good Republican warriors went these days. All fight, fight, fight when everything was just a mess of he said, she said, but oh, I can't take it, when he could have really done something to save the world. Well, he had done something great for the world. He had left it. For good. With Betty, I felt bad, just a little, that things had to end the way they did. But with Matthew, I was sorry I hadn't thought to come to him first. Of course, I might have found him alive still and been stuck with the jerk. He wasn't even useful as a supply raid. He lived off air and takeout from the looks of his fridge, and while he had quite a bit of luxurious stuff, it was flat screen TVs and high priced suits and those rings and bracelets you get in the little postcards for, which cost about double what they're worth. Those I grabbed anyway. Who knows? I might be able to melt them down for the point oh whatever silver that they had to contain in order to be sold as real silver, along with 2 cases of bottled water under his sink. Product marketing had been good for that, at least. 10 years ago, before companies had convinced consumers that city water wasn't good enough for them, I would have been living off whatever I could catch in buckets on the roof. But with a little rationing, I had a good stock of bottled spring water, packaged pure and fresh from the Coke and Pepsi plants that were probably no more. Shame, though. I was going to miss soda. Things I was also going to miss. 1. Double bacon cheeseburgers. 2. Mexican pizzas. 3. Chinese delivery. Oh, yeah, Chinese delivery. This sort of life wears on you fiercely, brutally, viciously, one, I, could say. After the buzz rush of coming that much closer to survival, and the satisfaction of hoarding away yet another backpack of food that could very well mean the difference between starving and thriving, there was still no one to pat you on the back and say good job. No girl to thank you for saving her, or even a dog like Robert Neville had. There was nothing, utterly nothing, to distract you from the hellfire world. All of the modern amenities I was going to miss, all of the distractions, was the one that I'd missed the most. In the last 100 years, people hadn't actually made the world a better place. Babies still died, wars still happened, people were raped, and evil went unpunished. What had changed was the way we smoothed out our lives. Yeah, so people drank too much, or did the dope, and they got into some trouble, or got labeled with a big A word, or both. And some people took sex too far, losing themselves literally in the crevices or protrusions of other people. But if society deemed something unhealthy, there was always something else to lose yourself in. It was easy to stay one step ahead of the avant-garde. Easy to bury yourself in a program or a game or a stupid flame war online and forget for a little while that you had bills to pay, a car on its last legs, and there was a rumor of pink slips going around the hole you toiled in for measly pay. We made our lives better by making ourselves have to live less of it. That was the fine beauty of escapism. But now everything had been stripped away, not just the power and the running water, and the promise of a hospital and antibiotics if you so much as stubbed your little toe. Now there wasn't even the comfort of a dime bag bought off the street, or a hot, wet woman, or to be fair, a hard cock, to make you feel no pain. Now there was nothing but picking off your neighbors one by one because they might kill you if they found you first. There was trying to sleep, But seeing their faces, feeling your gut twist with the horror of how it was all wrong, so wrong, but you couldn't do anything about it. Couldn't talk to them, warn them, much less save them anymore. So you had to wrap yourself in the comfort of knowing that you were doing what was right. I had to fold my half-assed convictions over me like a quilt. And when that wasn't enough, I had to patch it up with my irritation and outright anger at the way the people around me had screwed me over when alive. So I absolutely, positively felt no sympathy when I put them down. Because this was not a world where sympathy could survive. The end. Not actually the end, but the end of this part. I'll see you guys probably tomorrow. Bye.